a team ranked 67th in the world. Tournament debutants who had never played a World Cup game in their history. A goalkeeper who turned 40 just 2 weeks before the tournament started. That is who just held the favorites for the entire World Cup to a goalless draw. Before a single ball was kicked, Spain were the pick. Not one of the picks the pick. The European champions, the most talented squad in the tournament, the one name on virtually every expert's list to lift the trophy. The coronation was basically already written. And then, in their very first game, they ran into Cape Verde and couldn't score. 27 shots, nothing to show for it. The biggest shock of the World Cup so far, and it happened to the team everyone said couldn't be beaten. Here's the question nobody wanted to ask out loud this morning. What if Spain are about to do what Spain always do at World Cups and choke? Let me show you why that draw wasn't a fluke. It was a warning. First, understand just how big a favorite Spain were. This is a team that won the European Championship in 2024 and won it in style. They've got a midfield most countries can only dream of: Rodri, Pedri, Fabian, Ruiz, Gavi. They've got the most exciting teenager on the planet in Lamine Yamal. Their squad is so deep that the manager left out entire tiers of talent and still had a side that, on paper, can beat anyone. The experts agreed. Spain were the single most backed team to win this World Cup, the one country that appeared on nearly every prediction, every ballot, every bracket. If you were building the favorite from scratch, you'd build this Spain, which is exactly why what happened next mattered so much. So let's talk about the game itself, because the scoreline doesn't tell the whole story, it tells a worse one. Spain didn't get parked and frustrated by a defensive masterclass and lose on the counter. Spain dominated. They had 27 shots. 7 on target, more than 2 expected goals worth of chances. By the numbers, they did everything right except the only thing that matters. Put the ball in the net. The hero on the other side was a 40-year-old goalkeeper named Vizina, who made save after save after save, 7 of them, and walked off the pitch an overnight cult hero with millions of new followers. A debutant nation, 67th in the world, defended for their lives and stole a point off the favorites. And the Spanish forwards? They froze. Ferran Torres missed a sitter. The strikers barely registered. All that possession, all that talent, all those chances, and not one finish. That is not a one-off bad day. As you're about to see, that is the most Spanish problem there is. Now here's the crack at the center of everything. Spain's dangerous, total dependence on an 18-year-old. Lamine Yamal is a generational talent. He's also, right now, a major doubt. He tore his hamstring in April, an injury that ended his club season with Barcelona, and he arrived at this World Cup just coming back with no real match sharpness. So against Cape Verde, the manager didn't dare start him. He sat on the bench for 70 minutes. And in those 70 minutes, you could feel his absence. Spain were toothless. The spark was missing. When they finally threw him on for the last 20, the whole game changed, but by then, it was too late to break Cape Verde down. Think about what that tells you. The favorites for the entire World Cup look ordinary the moment their 18-year-old isn't on the pitch. And that 18-year-old is just back from a torn hamstring in the longest, most physically brutal tournament ever staged, where his minutes will have to be carefully managed for weeks. A title bid resting on the fitness of a teenager who can't yet play 90 minutes is not a title bid. It's a house of cards, and Game 1 already showed you the bottom card slip. But the deepest reason to worry isn't the injury or the missed chances. It's history. Because Spain have a World Cup curse, and almost nobody talks about it. Here's the pattern. Spain are the kings of Europe. They won the Euros in 2008, 2012, and again in 2024, utterly dominant on that stage. But the World Cup? The World Cup has been a graveyard for this golden football nation ever since their one and only triumph in 2010. Look at the record. In 2014, Spain went to the World Cup as defending champions and crashed out in the group stage. Humiliated, beaten 5-1 in one game, gone before the knockouts even started. In 2018, they reached the last 16 and went out on penalties to the host nation. In 2022, they reached the last 16 again and went out on penalties again. This time to Morocco after laboring through a group where they were also beaten by Japan. Do you see it? Group stage exit, round of 16. 3 World Cups in a row where the most technically gifted team in the world arrived with huge expectations and fell flat on the biggest stage. The talent has never been the problem. The nerve has. Spain win when the pressure is European. They wilt when the whole planet is watching. And it's worth asking why, because the contrast is genuinely strange. Why does the same nation look untouchable at a Euro and haunted at a World Cup? Part of it is the sheer weight. A World Cup is the biggest stage on earth, more teams, more eyes, the suffocating expectation that comes with being everyone's chosen favorite. Part of it is the format. A longer, grinding road where one flat afternoon early on, exactly like the one against Cape Verde, can poison the entire campaign. And part of it, honestly, looks mental. This is a team that plays with freedom when nobody expects anything and seizes up when everybody expects everything. At a World Cup, everybody always expects everything. And it has already started again against Cape Verde in Game 1. So why could it happen all over again in 2026? Let me give you the cracks. The first, you already know, the Yamal dependency. Lean a World Cup on a recovering teenager and you are one tight hamstring away from disaster. The second is the oldest Spanish flaw of all: no killer in front of goal. For years, Spain have had the most beautiful passing in the world and nobody to finish it. They dominate possession, they pass you dizzy, and then they can't put the ball in the net. Against Cape Verde, that exact weakness cost them 2 points. They have no out-and-out, world-class number 9 banging in goals and in knockout football. The team that can't finish is the team that goes home on penalties, which is precisely how Spain have died twice. Think about it, when was the last time Spain had a feared, prolific, world-class striker? They've spent the better part of a decade building gorgeous teams around a striker-shaped hole, trusting that enough possession and enough creativity would paper over it. Against tired or beaten opponents, sometimes it does. But World Cup knockout games are not decided by who keeps the most of the ball. They're decided by who takes their one chance. And time and again, Spain are the team with 20 shots, 0 goals, and a penalty shootout they're about to lose. They didn't fix that hole before this tournament. They just walked straight into it again in Game 1. The third crack is the format itself. This is the first 48-team World Cup, and slow starters get punished. Spain have a long history of starting tournaments sluggishly, and they've just dropped 2 points in Game 1. That margin is already gone. The path got narrower the moment Vecina made his 7th save, and the 4th is the target on their back. They came in as the favorites. Every opponent now circles the Spain game as the one they want, and they've just watched a team ranked 67th show the whole world the blueprint. Defend deep, stay organized, frustrate them, and wait for the Spanish nerve to crack. So how does the collapse actually unfold? Here's the realistic path. Spain grind through the group they're too good not to, but it's nervier than it should be, because the Cape Verde point left no room for error. They scrape top spot or sneak through second. Then the knockouts arrive and they run into a well-organized, clinical side in the round of 16, or the quarters, exactly the round where this team has died before. The game is tight. Spain have 70% of the ball and nothing to show for it, just like against Cape Verde. Yamal, managed all tournament, is either rusty or ration. The clock runs down. It goes to extra time, then penalties, the same lottery that ended their last 2 World Cups. And one more time, the most talented team in the tournament walks off the pitch, beaten, asking the same question they've asked since 2010. How do we keep doing this? Is it certain? Number. But is it the single most Spanish way for this to end, with every warning sign already flashing? Absolutely. So what would it actually mean if Spain go out early again? It would mean the best team in the world label is worth nothing if you can't deliver it at a World Cup. It would mean a genuinely golden generation Yamal, Pedri, Rodri. A Euro already in the cabinet adds another World Cup failure to a sequence that's now stretched across more than a decade. It would deepen one of football's strangest puzzles. How can the same nation be untouchable in Europe and cursed on the world stage? And it would be a brutal lesson in the difference between being the best team and winning the biggest prize. They are not the same thing. Spain, more than anyone alive, are the proof. So here's my honest verdict. Spain are still ferociously talented, and they'll very likely get out of that group. Don't mistake one draw for a death sentence. But that Cape Verde game didn't expose a bad day. It exposed the exact flaws that have buried this team at the last 3 World Cups. A stunning inability to finish, a fragility under World Cup pressure, and now a desperate reliance on a teenager who can't yet last 90 minutes. Everything that has sunk Spain before is present again, and it surfaced in Game 1. So I think the warning is real. The most talented team in the tournament is also the one with the longest history of throwing it away, and they just gave us a live preview. Now I want to hear from you. Be honest. Do Spain finally break their World Cup curse, or does the most gifted team in the world choke again? And if they go out, what round does it happen? I'm breaking down a scenario like this for every contender at this World Cup, so if you want the next one, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.